Welcome back to Dodgers Dugout Live, presented by Baja Blast, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball and Dodgers Nation. Get a Baja for a blast this MLB season and enjoy a refreshing splash of tropical lime flavor. The Dodgers just made a trade. We'll tell you who they traded for, who they gave up to get him, and what his role could be in this organization. Also, the Dodgers swept the Mets. We're going to tell you what the Dodgers proved to not only themselves, but the rest of baseball and Shohei Ohtani. Why was he out? Should we consider this in the future? Just pitching Ohtani, no batting on days that he goes on the mound. We'll talk about that. We got 3 up, 3 down, 3 things I like, 3 things I don't like right now. In the world of Dodger baseball, we're answering all of your questions too. All that more coming up next on Dodgers Dugout Live. Nothing brings us together quite like Dodger baseball.
Los Angeles wins it 3-1.
The Dodgers are ruining baseball. Let's get 4 more wins and really ruin baseball.
Oh my goodness! Shohei Ohtani! Whoa! Bounces one up the middle, bats to the back, over to first to beat the champ. You gotta knock him out. The Dodgers stand tall and win back-to-back titles.
Think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.
Live from the heart of Los Angeles, this is Dodgers Dugout Live with your host, Doug McKain.
What is up, Dodgers Nation, and welcome to another episode of Dodgers Dugout Live, the #1 Dodgers podcast and Dodgers show on YouTube. My name is Doug McKain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. If you haven't yet, it only takes you one time. I know there are a lot of people that are subscribed, almost 170,000, but also it's a lot of people that watch this show that are not subscribed. So do me a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button. It takes just one time. Drop a like, drop a comment if you want to support every single episode. To all your friends and family that love the boys in blue about this show. I met a lot of you guys yesterday in the left field pavilion. We had some pretty bad internet, so it kind of was a little sketchy, but yeah, we're going to probably start doing those little pavilion preview. Talk to my friends over the Dodgers Explicit too, Noel. Talk to Ram and Josh and the crew. They told me to tell you what's up. So yeah, it was good times. The pavilion's got vibes. I was looking for the pavilion Poppy. Didn't see him yet, but I need to, basically my big takeaway, I need to spend more time with the people in the pavilion. It was good times yesterday. Today's Dodgers Dugout Live poll question of the show. I asked you guys over on the X, should the Dodgers keep Shohei Ohtani out of the lineup on days that he pitches? And right now, this is a pretty staggering number. 80% say yes, while 20% say no. It's still very early in the show. We'll get back to the Dodgers Dugout Live poll question a little later. But let me know, after what you saw yesterday, where Shohei was dominant once again, first double-digit strikeout game of the season, would you want to see this moving forward? We'll get into that. This show is brought to you by GearUp.LA. That's the official merchandise store here at Dodgers Nation. And this is a live show. So if you want to drop some comments and some questions, hot takes, things that make me go, bruh, things that maybe want to push this, go for the comment of the show, make us laugh. We'll save that later. So drop those comments. I see you guys down below. It's up to Ohtani, so we'll get into that in a little bit. But there's so much to get into in the world of Dodger baseball, so let's get right into it.
Leading off, the hottest story in Dodger baseball.
Bang, we got a super chat right off the bat, $4.99. Super chat, I don't care. I could be talking about the most intense thing in the world. Trading for Tarek Skubal. I got like, whatever it is. If you drop a super chat, it's like the lightning lane at Disneyland. You're getting right to the front of the line. I got a $4.99 super chat from Tabor Quarles. Probably did not say that right. Feel like Kristen Wiig speaking Spanish and Bridesmaid there. But it says, pleasure meeting you at the game yesterday, bro. What's up, man? Appreciate you, man. It was cool to see a bunch of you guys out there. A lot of fans of the show. Guys are intense. No one just comes up to me and says what's up and asks for a picture or whatever it is and leaves. It's always come up to me and then complain about the team. It's come up to me and compared Kyle Tucker to Miles Conforto. Yeah, but I love that about you guys. You guys got big Dodger takes, and that's why you're fans of this show. But let's get right into it, because just minutes before the show, Noel told me that there was a trade. And the trade is that the Dodgers have acquired Chayce McDermott from the Baltimore Orioles. The Dodgers announced the news that the deal is for minor league right-handed pitcher Axel Perez. They already had a 40-man roster spot, so they don't need to make another move. But you guys know this is one of my favorite things. I don't care if it's a big trade, a small trade. What can we learn about this newest Dodger, and what could his role be for this team? So, Chayce McDermott, he's a right-handed pitcher. He was DFA'd last week. This is per John Heyman of the New York Post. And he was optioned to AAA Oklahoma City for the Dodgers. So McDermott's 25. He's a couple years from being one of the Orioles' best prospects. So you might know McDermott. He might be on your radar. And that's because there was a lot of buzz about this kid a couple years ago. He threw 119 innings and posted a 3.10 ERA in between AA and AAA. And then he had a 100-inning season where he posted a sub-4 ERA, was at 3.78 in AAA. And then he did make his debut in the show in 2024. He threw 4 innings, and it looked like this guy was going to emerge as a potential impact arm for Baltimore. But unfortunately, like we've seen, it takes time, and you have to be able to overcome the downward spiral. And sometimes that happens to young players where you might get that first hit, you might have that first scoreless inning, but it's about how do you react when it's about results and not process. At the minor league level, it's process. They're not focused on the results. At the big league level, you got to have the results. And there are some instances where you can merge the two, like what we're seeing right now with Roki Sasaki. But in most cases, if you're not getting the job done, the bottom line is you're going to be sent down or you're going to be DFA'd. And in 2025, it was a bad season for McDermott. He had a 6.91 ERA in his first 11 starts at the AAA level. He gave 43 hits, allowed 6 home runs, issued 36 walks in just 43 innings of work. I mean, that's very bad for 11 starts. That's given me 2023 Noah Syndergaard vibes. By the way, I saw a Noah Syndergaard Mets jersey yesterday. One of the most random jerseys that I saw so far this season. That was good to see. And with those struggles, though, the move for the Baltimore Orioles was we're going to try him out in the bullpen. How does he look like as a reliever? So they send him to the pen. In his first outing, he gave 5 runs in 1 2/3 innings. He did do a much better job out of the bullpen in AAA. As a reliever for AAA in 2025, he did post an impressive 1.76 ERA, had an 18-7 strikeouts to walk ratio in his final 15 1/3 innings. So that is something to build on. That is where, when you're looking at the backstory, what did the Dodgers see in him? That's the what did they see in him? It's the former top prospect. It's the we had success in a role that he can have for this team. A guy out of the bullpen. He has not had a ton of success so far to start this season. He's gone 5 1/3 innings for the Norfolk affiliate of the Orioles. He's given up 4 runs on 5 hits. He's issued 6 walks. He's hit a batter. He also pitched 3 spring training innings for the Orioles, and he gave up 3 solo shots. So the issues with McDermott is the command. We talked about it, right? If you want to be the man, you have to have the command. And he hasn't shown that. And that really is the case for most minor league pitchers, for young pitchers. I mean, what holds pitchers back from having success at this level is typically that. But that's where the Dodgers come into play. What the Dodgers like to do is, hey, they'll take something off the dollar menu and they'll turn it into a 3-star Michelin chef meal. And sometimes they can do that. They did that with Max Muncy. They did that with Evan Phillips. Once they put him in the lab and they sprinkle that Dodgers dust on him and hope for the best, there is a world where they can take raw talent and they can mold it into something that can contribute and provide a depth piece for this team. Now, as far as his pitch mix goes, he's a four-seam slider cutter, splitter, sweeper, curveball guy, mainly four-seam slider. That's what the Dodgers are definitely into, is can you pair that slider with a really well-commanded fastball? He's not a big velocity guy. He averaged 93.5 miles per hour on his four-seam fastball. Throws a cutter, throws a splitter, and I think you'll see them increase the usage of that sweeper. That's one thing the Dodgers have done with a couple of guys. Or you throw that cutter more. That's what they did with Ryan Brazier a couple years ago when he was really struggling. He got DFA'd. They implemented that cutter, and then he was a contributor to the Dodgers. So, yeah, I mean, for him, you look at what they gave to get him. It's a one-for-one deal at the minor league level, and now it's just kind of one of those things where is he a high upside, change of scenery, put on that Dodgers uniform, and right away, like you go from Orioles orange to Dodger blue, right away that knocks off like 10 points off your ERA right off the bat. And the strikeout rate goes up, the walk rate goes a little down. But I think when you look at where the Dodgers are at, this is an example of why they're a great organization, because they're going to try to improve on the margins. And this is the latest example. I think as far as will you see him this year, I think there's pretty much no doubt about it, just because this is a team that essentially is using 40 pitchers a year at this point. Hopefully that's not the case this season, because that would be an indication that guys were able to stay healthy. But he is a AAA guy. So, I mean, you're likely going to see him. And now it's just a matter of, hey, what can the Dodgers get out of him? But I do like the fact that it feels like the Dodgers are kind of looking at these guys as quick projects. And he's 27. He was born in Anderson, Indiana. He was selected in the 4th round by the Houston Astros with the 132nd overall pick in the 2021 Major League Draft. He then ended up getting traded to the Orioles, and that's where he emerged as a prospect that gained a lot of traction there. So, hey, that is where he's at right now. Let's see if there's any fun facts about him. Just give you like one fun fact. Okay, we got something here. McDermott's older brother, Sean, played, this is the theme of The Office today, in the National Basketball Association for the Memphis Grizzlies. His brother is Sean McDermott. You guys remember good old Sean McDermott? You guys know Sean McDermott. So he's got some NBA ties. So yeah, that definitely is interesting, because it kind of makes me think of River Ryan, because River Ryan was known to be a really good basketball player, very athletic. So that tells me a NBA basketball, that equals athleticism. And when you look at his frame, he looks like this is someone that there's something there from an athleticism standpoint. So I always ask this question anytime the Dodgers trade for anyone: is it something, nothing, or everything? I would say it's somewhere in between nothing and something, where it's not nothing. But I do think that if the something is him throwing at least one pitch for the Dodgers at the big league level this season, I think there's a decent probability that that's the case. So that makes it a something. He is 6'3", 190 pounds, righty, Baltimore. So, hey, maybe we'll try to get him on the show. So welcome to LA, Chayce McDermott. All right, welcome to Dodgers Dugout Live. A little breaking news there to start the show. And we got lots to talk about, because last night the Dodgers swept the Mets. And before we get into Shohei Ohtani and Dalton Rushing, I think last night, the 2 nights before that, I think was the ultimate billboard, the ultimate commercial for what makes the Dodgers a successful organization. In that the Mets feel like they are the new money, right? Stephen Cohen, richest owner in sports. The Mets feel like they're that guy that watches Wolf of Wall Street every day and wants to be like a Bitcoin billionaire or a day trader and just get those flashy things, right? The Dodgers are the organization that makes the smart moves. The Mets are like, what if you gave a fan $20 billion? Like, what if a fan won the lottery and said, hey, I'm going to buy my favorite baseball team and I'm going to make them into a World Series title in year one? What do? They buy the big flashy things. The Juan Sotos, the Francisco Lindors. They overpay for those players. I mean, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, right? The big brand names. What does a person do when they get rich, right? They buy the big brand names. The Mets, they got a big money owner. They bought the flashy stuff. They went out there and they bought some Gucci shoes, right? The Dodgers, they're the kind of people, instead of buying the Gucci shoes, they'll invest in Gucci stock, right? They want to watch that money grow. And I look at the difference between these two teams. It's high risk investments versus low risk investments, right? The Dodgers are essentially, if I've said this on the show a couple different times, they're the Warren Buffett of baseball. They make smart investments. How did Warren Buffett make his money? He invested in companies where I don't even need to explain to you why it's a good idea. Where's his stocks? Warren Buffett invested in Coca-Cola, Bank of America, Apple, American Express, right? It doesn't take a lot of convincing to want to give guys like Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Blake Snell, Yamamoto, that kind of money, right? They're the Coca-Colas and the Apples of MLB free agents. Those are safe investments. And then you also look at the compound interest that the Dodgers have had in their franchise, right? What is compound interest, right? You allow that interest to compound over decades, and then you get the wealth. That is how the Dodgers got here, right? Decades of compound interest, from Jackie Robinson Day yesterday and the Boys of Summer and Pee Wee Reese and winning that title, to coming to LA with Sandy Koufax and Fernando Valenzuela. And in 1981, you win another title. In 63-65, you won that title with Sandy Koufax. And then 88. And then you build Dodger Stadium, if you're Walter O'Malley, the biggest stadium in all of baseball. You get Vince Scully, who everyone listens to, and he becomes a part of the fabric of the Southland. We're talking about compound interest for 7-8 decades that leads to Shohei Ohtani wanting to sign here long term. Because without the fans, without the TV deal, without fans wanting to watch this team on TV, without fans wanting to go and set attendance records at Dodger Stadium, without the World Series and the tradition and Dodger Blue and Tommy Lasorda and the lore of the Dodgers, you don't get all of this. The Mets are trying to do in a couple years what the Dodgers have spent over 100 years doing, and that is build a marquee franchise and then get the resources and get the money and then reinvest it in it. Where if I'm a Dodgers fan, every time I see a fan saying the Dodgers are ruining baseball, it looks like they're playing in a fantasy baseball league where there's only two teams. They've got the Monstars. This is unfair. Every time you hear that, all you got to say is LOL Mets. That's all you have to say. Say LOL Mets. Because the Mets, they have an unlimited budget. But the difference is they're not educated enough to build the infrastructure. They're like a toddler discovering fire, right? I mean, you don't understand what is actually behind everything as far as a farm system and hiring the right coaches, hiring the right scouts. And what is the storyline early on this season? The Dodgers have the best record in baseball. They're 14-4. They're on a 126 win pace. Who's the star of the Dodgers? Offensively, it's a homegrown talent in Andy Pages, who they paid $3,000 to get as an international prospect. Who hit the grand slam last night, who they did not include in a trade for Dylan Cease a couple years ago? Dalton Rushing. Will Smith's a homegrown talent. Hyeseong Kim, I consider a homegrown talent for the most part. I think also the way you look at it is, does this team use every resource they have? The answer is yes, right? For as much homegrown talent as they do have, there really isn't the Dodgers without all of this stuff. I mean, look at last year in the World Series. Who makes the big plays? It was obviously a lot of Shohei Ohtani, a lot of Yamamoto. Those are the highest paid players in the game. But then it's also Andy Paz makes the catch, and it's Kike Hernandez sets up the double play. Miguel Rojas was the 187th highest paid player in baseball, and he hits the game-tying home run. They get the players on the fringes because they want to be Dodgers. But I will say, the Dodgers are the Dodgers because they have the deepest pockets. There's no doubt about that. Like, if you throw Andrew Friedman on the Tampa Bay Rays again, is Andrew Friedman signing Shohei Ohtani? No. Is he signing Yamamoto? No. Is he signing Blake Snell? No. The number one reason why the Dodgers won the World Series last year was because of elite starting pitching. They hit 203 as a team. But if you're going to rank them, they're like someone that does everything well, right? They do everything well. They scout well. They draft well. But the number one thing is they make smart, risk-averse decisions. Like I said, Warren Buffett of baseball, Coca-Cola, that's Mookie, Apple, that's Shohei, Bank of America, that's Freddie Freeman. We're talking about strong brands where you know what you are going to get. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about this team. So they're a well-run organization. I think that anytime, like this whole the Dodgers are running baseball thing is hilarious to me, because I think the way to settle this was if you gave every single team the equal amount of money and you started with a blank roster, you still have to believe that players would want to, if you're getting the same amount of money, would you want to play for the Rockies or the Dodgers? If you're going to get the same amount of money, would you play for the Astros or the Dodgers? Would you want to play for the organization that's in sunny Southern California, that has the tradition that Jackie Robinson played for this organization? It's Dodger Blue. It's going to help your brand. You're in a major market. Look, all things aren't created equal. That's just how it is. But the Dodgers have earned every single thing that they've gained. And if you, the fan, are watching this, you are a massive reason why this is the way it is. If there was 10,000 fans going to a game, if it was the Miami Marlins and you got fans painted like seats and there's 6,000 fans a game, no, there's no money to reinvest and there's no pressure on the organization. Andrew Friedman told me a couple years ago that this whole idea of bringing in the best players is a reward to their passionate fans. So guess what? You're ruining baseball, fan out there. You're ruining it by supporting your team the way you are, which is leading to this dynasty. And if other fan bases had a similar situation, I think they'd be in a great spot too. But yeah, anytime anyone's talking about ruining baseball, point out the LOL Mets that have all the money and none of the championships. Okay? But I got my guy rocking with me, one of our writers, Nelson Espinal. Streets call him Nelly. Nelly if you're nasty. Nelly, I saw on the X that you made some comments. So you had a tweet out there that got Padres and Astros fans excited. You want to tell me about it?
Yeah. So pretty much I was, after the Dalton Rushing Grand Slam, I was, super jazzed about the fact that the Dodgers held on to him. I thought there was a lot of noise over the offseason and towards the trade deadline that, there was a lot of Dodger fans not really seeing a role for him. The organization, there were some light rumors that he could be on the outskirts because obviously Will Smith is our franchise catcher. And so how is Rushing going to get playing time? There's the whole first base talk, obviously no DH with Shohei. And so, I was pretty concerned that Rushing would get traded, but at the end of the day, Freeman stuck to his guns and he didn't deal him. And now he's blossoming into one of the best hitters on the Dodgers so far. It's early. The sample size is small. I'm not going to claim that he's bona fide for sure all-star, but all the underlying metrics last season were impressive for the most part to me. And now he's starting to deliver on that promise. And so I decided to say that the Dodgers holding on to Rushing is one of the main reasons why the franchise is able to be so successful. They, over the years, since Freeman took over, they've been very patient. They strike during free agency and they hold on to the prospects. And some of that, yes, it's due to the payroll. The payroll certainly helps. But sort of like you said, over the years, it's been like the Cease deal where the Dodgers could have potentially traded some of their top prospects, but they held on to them. Seager was able to be a meaningful contributor to the 2020 World Series. Obviously, he walked after, but also Belly. Also, you look at Jock. These were all prospects that MLB fans, specifically Dodger fans, they wanted the Dodgers to trade and make an aggressive move to get them over the hump. But Freeman stuck to his guns, and he has a long track record of giving these guys chances. And even if they don't all pan out, like Gavin Lux, a guy that they held on to, overall, I think that their patience and their commitment to making sure that they build sustainable success over the years, over this past decade of success, I think that's why the Dodgers are the best run franchise in baseball.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely a major contributing factor. I think when you look at some of those deals you mentioned, they always say you never want to trade a stock during lunchtime because it's choppy, it's unpredictable, it can be seen as a panic move. I think that's what the Dodgers view the trade deadline is. That's the never trade a stock at lunchtime of Major League Baseball, because you're basically paying hotel minibar prices, right? And the Dodgers are always going to weigh the net benefits of a player based on their current roster build. And I don't think that a player like Dalton Rushing is a untradeable player. Like you look at up and down this roster, there's players that I think they're certainly extremely high on. But let's be honest. I mean, like outside of the Shohei Ohtanis and the Mookie Betts and the Freddies and guys like that, they're committed to winning, and anything that they can view as sustainability, they could contribute towards that. That's what they're going to go with. But I mean, I think you look at the Dalton Rushing non-trade where he was going to be dealt for Dylan Cease potentially. You look back, some of the best trades are the ones you never make. But I think the way they view Dalton Rushing is, hey, we've got a quality bat, we've got a leader, and we also have a catcher in Will Smith that we feel really should be playing 100+-ish games if in a perfect world to keep him healthy. So as long as you're a prospect, a young player has a role on this team, I think you're fine. But yeah, I mean, some other franchises I look at a couple years ago where you look at the 2021 deadline, right? They needed to make a move to have a crack at going back-to-back. And they were going up against that 107-win Giants team. So they did trade their top two prospects in Keibert Ruiz and Josiah Gray. They got Trey Turner and Max Scherzer. So Andrew Friedman said this, there's not any hard and fast rules to what they do. You're absolutely right. I mean, there's a lot of feel to this. And they have a lot of feel for the prospects they think are high upside and the ones they think that they can trade in deals. Like Michael Busch is a good example, right? For a lot of teams, you could look back at Michael Busch and say, oh, why did you trade him? When you already have Freddie Freeman, a future Hall of Famer, you have the luxury of trading a Michael Busch.
Right. Yeah, of course. There's definitely, it's what I appreciate is that there's no hard, we're going to keep all of our prospects or we're going to be.
Are you a prospect hugger?
Aggressive. I mean, obviously, yeah, because it's sort of like how you put it to me earlier where like, as soon as you drive off the lot, it loses a ton of value. But before then, you just think the world of all these players and you hold on to that evaluation for so long, even when they don't produce, right? Like look at Dustin May, look at Bobby Miller, like even Bobby Miller I still believe in Bobby Miller, like just because the stuff and the promise and the moments and the flashes are just so tantalizing. And so like, for me, it's extremely hard to like part with these guys. That's why I always wanted to keep, Seager, Belly during those times when, yeah, we were a good team. But we could have used those pieces to make a trade and potentially have won a World Series at the end of the drought. But I always appreciate when franchises don't make hasty moves like that and they kind of allow themselves to have a larger window of time, especially in the sport of baseball where there's so much variance season to season. Teams get hot. even with the Dodgers, I appreciate the fact that they could have gone after Jerry Duran and just put together a massive prospect package. They could have packaged all their outfielders. Everyone says they have a massive horde of outfielders. They could have gone and made this super aggressive trade, and a lot of people wanted them to make that aggressive trade. The Dodgers needed a reliever last year that they could rely on, and instead they held tight to all their pieces. They made, the Brock Stewart move. They made a few minor moves on the edges, but they didn't make a splash because they stuck to their guns, and they think that out of these outfielders, we're going to give ourselves 4, 5, 6 good swings at a promising future all-star caliber outfielder. It's possible they all end up sort of in that Gavin Lux, in that Michael Busch where he didn't pan out for the Dodgers and they end up going somewhere else and having some more success or never fully realizing it. But they're going to give themselves as many swings to get these cost-effective pieces, so that way they don't have to just spend premium at every position. Because when you look at the Dodgers roster, a lot of people talk about, they spend so much money, they sign these big money free agents. But when you look at so many of the positions, if you look at Max Muncy was not an all-star signing. He was a diamond in the rough that Freeman discovered. He gave him a chance, and now he's blossomed into one of the best third basemen over the past decade and a massive slugger. And then you look at Kike Hernandez, someone who stepped up during the postseason. You find all these pieces, valuable pieces, and then you add the stars on top, the big money free agents on top. That's what makes a true contender, and that's what makes the Dodgers they've been an absolute lock to make the postseason, and that's no surprise. And there hasn't always been big money spending when you look at the Dodgers. They've taken on salary from other teams, like they did with the Adrian Gonzalez trade. They've been open to using their cap space and their money. But if you look at it, they haven't really gone out and been that aggressive. It's only been now that they've really pushed their chips in and spent a ton of money. So I think overall, the total package, when you mention the scouting, when you mention the prospect management, your overall philosophy, I think the Dodgers are just the best run franchise because they're able to stick to their guns and they don't waver from their processes, no matter what the results are. And they don't listen to any of the outside noise. They don't listen to when fans are clamoring to trade all the prospects, and they don't, listen when fans want to hug the prospects. They make moves based on what they think is right. They trust their system. Freeman trusts his philosophy. And I think that's what makes them different from a lot of other organizations.
Yeah. Breaking news, the Dodgers are great at what they do. We know that for sure. But I think that when it comes to the prospects, I do have a little bit of a different view on that, in that I think in this current iteration of the Dodgers, and you see the roster as the oldest roster in the sport, then you start to wonder about the sustainability and knowing that your window is the Shohei Ohtani decade-long contract. And you look at Teo, for example, he has a year after this year, but then that's when you bring in Zaire Hope and Josue DePaula, right? But all bets are off if you're close to winning a World Series. Parades over prospects, man. The truth of the matter is the top 30 prospects in the Dodgers organization, 70% of them will not pan out. And the longer you keep those guys, the less value you're going to get. You mentioned someone like Bobby Miller, you could have gotten Garrett Crochet for him, right? They end up in a better spot. There's Gavin Lux was the top prospect. You could have got a lot for Gavin Lux. So I just think that I think every prospect is based on the current roster build and what they have the potential to do for this team. Because the truth is, you mentioned all these prospects, right? We went from 2019 to 2026, essentially, from developing an impact prospect. Think about it. Walker Buehler was the last one from 2018. And then you had glimpses there. And we know what they brought in with Corey Seager and Cody Bellinger. And that was, as you point out, before the Dodgers started investing heavily in the superstars that they felt were good fits for this long-term Dodgers project that they've been on with Guggenheim. But the truth is when you have the financial muscle and you can turn prospects into Mookie Betts and you can turn prospects into Tyler Glass now. But the best thing to do is if you got the money, I'll never forget, being down in spring training, talking about, at least it was a 1-year contract. Someone from the Dodgers said, with the Dodgers, no such thing as a bad 1 year, any contract. They don't. They print this stuff. You know what I mean? So, but I will say that there's going to be this Venn diagram kind of thing for the next couple of years of who are the guys we think can be the Corey Seagers, the Cody Bellingers, the all-star level talent. Because the thing about this organization is they don't have time for anything but all-star. if we're being completely honest. Like anything but all-star, it's like, bro, like I can go to the store. Like I'll go to Rodeo Drive right now and get whatever I need. Like other organizations like, hey man, just be a dude, like be average, above average. And you look at the 7, 8, 9 and most teams around this league, they're below average. But on this Dodgers team, that's why it's so impressive. And I think the Andy Paz story is one of the very best stories in the last couple of years because dude's been able to do this on a team that has the best players, not just in the current league, but like some of those players ever. So like, that's the thing. It's like, the rising tide lifts all boats. Like if you're a young prospect for this team, like you better ball out if you want to make it for this team. Like I think, I mean, I'm last night, I'm talking to Dalton Rushing and I joked with him after I was recording. I'm like, bro, the Dodgers have an all-star catcher as their backup to an all-star catcher. Yeah. Right. I mean, like, that's really the potential that Dalton Rushing has. Like all the people are crying at me, DMAC, we need Ben Rortvedt back. Ben Rortvedt hitting that grand slam last night. Is Ben Rortvedt hitting a 2-out double to extend it inning to get to a home run? No, because the ceiling that Rushing has. So, I mean, how do you get him some more at-bats when really you got maybe 200, 220 with the backup of Will Smith, and you're good luck knocking on Freddie Freeman's door and saying, hey, Freddie, we know you won 3,000 hits. We know you won another bag. We're going to sit you 20 games. A guy that is a creature of habit. So what I'm trying to leave you with here is that his value is going to get really high if he continues to have success like this when he gets opportunities. And you got to think that if they're like Paul Skeens down the road, like you mean like I'm talking special, right? Like if there's a shortstop that became available that you really start to think about, hey, this team has wanted that all-star shortstop. They kind of have that Mookie Betts, just can't stay on the field. Is Kim going to be that realistically? Probably not. Right. So I would say, hey man, you gotta like Marshawn Lynch, man. You gotta keep those chickens, and you want to hatch those eggs. Like I think that they're still open to it. For sure, no, definitely. But I think it's great that you mentioned Paez because he is like the example of a player who, in other organizations, they would have been happy where he's at. They wouldn't have pushed him to improve. But I mean, he locked himself pretty much like in a basement with the pitching machine over spring training, over the offseason, honestly, and just got so good at recognizing pitches and knowing what's coming. I think there's a push and a pull, obviously, because if you were to, like, let's say, trade Rushing, let's say this deadline, he continues to have those spot appearances and continues to impress, and it seems like, hey, we'll give you X promising player. And then you think, okay, well, Rushing, he's already had some appearances. He's already played in the Major League Baseball. How much better can he realistically get with the Dodgers, with the ceiling there that you mentioned with the playing time? The risk there is that he ends up going, having that same work ethic and end up improving a lot like Paez has so far. And then you end up missing out on that growth. So there's definitely like a balance there overall. You look at, Michael Busch, he didn't have the initial success with the Dodgers or success at all with the Dodgers, but then you see what he's become with the Cubs. And he's one of those rare players that leaves the Dodgers organization and becomes better. So there's like a good amount of caution when it comes to selling these kind of players that I think Friedman balances well. But honestly, at this point, you got to trust his judgment because when he's dealing prospects, for the most part, they end up not truly hitting their ceiling, and the Dodgers end up looking like bandits who just robbed the train. Exactly. I mean, it's very rare that they don't win a deal. It really is rare. It hasn't happened very many times. The times it has happened, you can almost justify. I mean, the Yordan Alvarez, they thought he never was going to profile as a DH because he'd have the DH and he wasn't going to be an outfielder. And he really didn't have a lot of power too. But my man, Nelly, give it up for Nelly, sharing his thoughts on Dodgers success. All right. Well, first of all, Indy says, take that back. Take that back, DMAC. Benny Biceps is a Dodgers legend. I love Benny the Vet Rodriguez. I really do. But what did I say on this show over the past year when every single person was like, bring Ben Rortvedt back and Ben Rortvedt this and Ben Rortvedt that? I stuck by Dalton Rushing. And the reason why I did it was because of the ceiling that he has. And he's proved me right so far. But coming up next, we're going to hear from Shohei Ohtani. And we're going to talk about a question that I was asked by a couple fans last night. And that was, DMAC, how good would Shohei be if he just pitched? How good would he be if he just hit? Should he sit on days where he pitches? We'll get to that next on Dodgers Dugout Live. Starting something new isn't just hard, it's terrifying. So much work goes into this thing that you're not entirely sure will work out, and it can be hard to make that leap of faith. Trust me, I know. When I started this podcast, I wasn't even sure what I was doing. What if no one listens? What if I make a fool of myself? Now I know that I was right in believing in myself and launching my podcast despite all the fears and hesitations. It also helps when you have a partner like Shopify on your side to help. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Gymshark, Alo, Yoga, to brands just getting started. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. Best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. It's your time to turn those what ifs into cha-ching with Spotify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/Dodgers. Go to shopify.com/Dodgers. That's shopify.com/Dodgers. And welcome back to Dodgers Dugout Live, the #1 Dodgers podcast and Dodgers show on YouTube. Got a super chat, $20 super chat. One of the other things that makes the Dodgers stand out is the focus on bringing in players that fit in the clubhouse, players that get along with each other, unlike the Mets, who just sign anybody. Yeah, I mean, there's been some talk about the Mets and just kind of the dysfunction in that clubhouse last season. Hey, it's fun to win. It's funny how when you win, your clubhouse is a lot less dysfunctional. So I think it does start there. But yeah, Kike Hernandez has said it multiple times that the Dodgers and the guys they bring in, they mesh so well with each other. I think my take on that is, I think the number one thing, the reason why the Dodgers clubhouse works is because their alphas are all chasing the same thing. And that is more World Series titles, right? Like, they already have a bunch of made men. Shohei's won his MVPs. Mookie's an MVP. Freddie's an MVP. They all have big contracts. So I think when your alpha is still chasing individual awards or big contracts, then you get to the point where there's a lot of friction, but everyone on this team fits into their role. Even guys like Teoscar Hernandez, they're paid. Will Smith is paid. Pages, he's going to get paid at some point. I think that's a big part of it. On the pitching side, look at the rotation. All of those are made men. And really the only thing that enhances these guys' careers is winning, which leads to all-stars, which leads to individual accolades. But more importantly, it's the World Series titles. So they're really this self-actualized team that they are all pulling the same direction on the rope, right? And that's the number one thing. But let's get into last night's game, and let's do some 3 up, 3 down. 3 things I like, 3 things I don't like right now in the world of Dodger baseball.
3 up, 3 down.
All right, the first thing that I really, really like is the fact that Shohei Ohtani looks like he's on the verge of being the best pitching version of Shohei. The Angels, 2022, he was great. A 2.33 ERA, finished 4th in the Cy Young, made a career high 28 starts through 166 plus innings. But what we saw last night was a glimpse into, I think, the next chapter of Shohei Ohtani's pitching legacy. He hit 97. He had a 97 mile per hour four-seam fastball for most of the night, but he did what great pitchers used to do, like Pedro Martinez used to do. Pedro would sit at 92, 93, 94, but then when he needed 98, he could pump. And last night we saw that with Shohei multiple times, was going to triple digits when he needed to. Struck out Francisco Lindor on that sidestep where he's sidestepping. It's a 11, 12 pitch at bat. You're getting into double-digit swings. And he's like, how do I get Francisco Lindor out? He throws that four-seam fastball, and it has that arm side run on it. His four-seam was playing like it was a two-seam yesterday. And just talking to people within the team, they told me that the emphasis is the lower body, the drive, his legs, and getting downhill. And he's getting behind the fastball better than he ever has. Last year, he had a career high 98.2 mile per hour velocity. I asked Shohei about this at the beginning of the season. And one thing he told me was that this was his second major surgery rehab process. And because of that, he's just more familiar with the situation. Nothing has surprised him at this point. He knows how to get his body in the best shape possible. And if we are looking at the Cy Young race through 3 games, what I say before the season, that if he got off to a great start and was truly in the mix to win the Cy Young, that they would let him go for it. And yes, you're going to see him take some time off. Yes, you're going to see him work that 6-man rotation. But as long as he's going at least 6 innings, and last night he did say that he had the chance to go even 7 innings, he felt good about that possibility, that as long as he's doing that, then it makes a lot of sense. But if you look at him compared to the rest of the league, it's 3 starts. He leads the National League with a 0.5 ERA. But also the expected stuff is really good. A 2.31 expected ERA, a 2.32 FIP. Strikeout numbers, they're going to go up. Had his first double-digit strikeout game of the season last night with 10 strikeouts. His strikeouts per 9's at 9. That's going to go up. But if you look at the WAR, a 0.7 F-WAR, that leads the National League. I look at his teammate in Yoshinobu Yamamoto through 4 starts, 0.5 WAR, a 2.10 ERA. So right now, Shohei's gotten off to the start that he needed to keep the momentum up. And I certainly think that he wants to do that. Now, the question that I always find interesting is John Smoltz said a couple years ago that if Shohei Ohtani exclusively pitched, that he would be the best pitcher in baseball. Well, guess what? He's pitching, and for 2 of his 3 starts is hitting, and he has put up best pitcher in baseball numbers. It's an extremely small sample, just 18 innings of work. But it does beg the question, like, what would he look like if he only pitched? And I think my answer to that is we now know what Shohei Ohtani looks like when he only hits. And when he only hit, he had an incredible offensive season, the best of his career. When he only hit in 2024, that is his high watermark as far as WAR. He had a 9 WAR season. He had a 1,036 OPS. That was second. He actually was a little higher in 2023 with the Angels, but his OPS plus was higher at 187 park adjusted. Also, he had a career high in stolen bases when he had the 50-50. Last year, he had 54 home runs and 130 RBI. He led the league in on base. I mean, he was incredible, right? But if he only pitched, I think what would change for Shohei would be, I think he could go deeper into starts. I think he would have less fatigue towards the end of starts. I think it's the only thing that you could say is that when things go wrong for Shohei, take game 7 of the World Series, where he gave the home run to Bo Bichette. Look at his facial expressions. He looked exhausted. He looked fatigued. He looked gassed. And then he served up that slider and Bo Bichette hit it for a home run. When he gets tired, it impacts the mechanics, which impacts the command. And that's really the only time when he struggles. So if this guy was just doing his extra work and he was focusing on pitching, I do agree. Like, he would probably be a better pitcher. But here's the thing. Then he wouldn't be the unicorn. Here's the thing. Then he wouldn't be a one-of-one player, right? He'd just be Roger Clemens, right? I don't want to see him just be Roger Clemens, right? A steroid-free Roger Clemens, mind you. He would just be an elite pitcher. And the Shohei Ohtani experience is the fact that, here's the thing, like, let's say last night he had 5 strikeouts, went like 5 in 2/3 innings and gave up a couple runs, it would still be incredible. It would still be awesome. But it's the fact that you could argue that when he's at his best, he's a top 5 to 10 pitcher, and that when he's at his very best offensively, he's a top 1 to 2 hitter, meaning he's right behind Aaron Judge. So the truth is he's too good of a hitter to even explore this. And I look, man, the greats do a lot of things, right? I mean, that's just how it is. And I think for Shohei Ohtani, you don't even entertain the idea, but what I think you do consider is maybe a couple of starts this year. So what they're going to try to do, he's lined up on the typical 6-man rotation where with the next day off, they're going to be able to have him make his starts before an off day because of the luxury of having so many Thursdays off to start the season. When that's not the case, during the middle of the year, there's a stretch where the Dodgers played 31 games in 32 days after this month. When that comes along, I think you can pick your spots in there for a day where he just pitches. But the idea of doing that every time is ridiculous. Like, I saw that last night. Okay? I saw that last night. And one, he wouldn't want that because he wants to go down as the greatest player ever. And for him to go down as the greatest player ever, he's got to do both. But two, if he only pitched and he made 25 to 30 starts, you're basically saying, hey, we're not going to have our best hitter for 120 to 150 at-bats. You're never even going to consider that. Even if the production of those at-bats isn't in line with his typical production on days when he doesn't pitch it, he's still better in his pitching day at-bats than most hitters are when they're at full strength. So it's not something I'm even entertaining for a full season, but I do think the happy medium here is you move him down in the lineup, maybe to the 2-hole, so he doesn't have all that stress, especially during home games where he's batting leadoff after he pitches. That's a happy medium. And then every now and then, during a rough stretch, during a high volume period of games, then you have him take a day off, right? I mean, it's like Michael Jackson was a great singer and a great dancer, right? You want to hear him sing Man in the Mirror and moonwalk to Billie Jean, right? That's the Shohei Ohtani experience, okay? You want to see him hit 3 home runs and have 10 strikeouts in the NLCS Game 4 clincher. So that's not going to change. But here was Shohei Ohtani after the game talking about his start, and we'll talk about Dalton Rushing and what he told Rushing before the game.
Shohei, what was your reaction when Dave said that he wanted you to only pitch today?
ピッチャーだけって言われた時の反応、リアクションは。
まあちょっとびっくりはしましたけど、はい、まあチーム的としてもいい戦略というかじゃないかなとは思うので、まあもちろんデッドボール当たってピッチングの方に専念してほしいって言われてたので、まあそこにまず集中しようかなと思ってました。
After getting hit by a pitch, Doc thought that it was a good idea for me and for the team to just focus on the pitching side of the game. And so I was a little bit surprised, but it made sense hearing what he had to say.
How different is it physically going through a game just as a pitcher instead of as a two-way player? That specifically like pitching without hits.
そうですね、投手だけっていうので何か違いは。
まあイニング間がなんかこうやっぱ長くは感じるので、変な感じはしましたけど、まあそれでもしっかりとまず集中できてたので良かったかなと思います。
Just in between innings felt a little longer than normal. That was really the only difference that I really felt. Aside from that, I felt pretty good.
What did you do with that time to stay loose? Did you have to do more with your shoulder?
なんか特別なこととかしました。
まあいつもよりその打者に対しての対策を取る時間は多かったので、そういう意味では有意義な時間が多かったかなと思います。
Yeah, actually had pretty productive time being able to spend time on the game planning side of things. So that felt pretty good.
Your fastball seemed to have a lot of life today. What do you attribute that to?
球速も高かったですけど。
そうですね。まあ1点取られた後はちょっと力は入れましたけど、全体的にはリラックスして投げれたので、そこはまあ前回より進歩かなと思います。
It just added a little bit more intensity after they scored a run, but overall it felt really nice and easy and loose throughout the whole outing. So I think that's the reason why I threw a little harder.
So your 4 fastest fastballs came right after they scored that run. Are you usually cognizant going into these starts about maybe saving a little something extra for when you get into trouble?
得点された後に一番早い4球早かったんですけども、何かそういうのを意識してやってるんですかと。
というのもまあシーズンやっぱり投げる中で全力をこうずっと100球投げるわけにはいかないので、ある程度スコアを見ながら投げないとはいけないですけど、あそこはまあ2、3塁だったので、1本で逆転されるところですし、しっかりとも全力で抑える場面だったのかなと思ってます。
Yeah, I can't, full throttle all the time, but considering the game where the game was at that point, I felt like, I just really had to go full throttle and make sure that I'm considering about the game situation.
Shohei, you said your last start that you felt some fatigue. Do you feel like the way that the Dodgers are using you, their schedule is allowing you to fix that?
前回はちょっと疲労が溜まった感じでしたけども、じゃあそのやり方としてたまらないやり方みたいな。
そうですね。はい。今日そのピッチングだけにしてラッシュが入りましたけど、コロラドの4連戦の前なので、そういう意味でもこう全体的に疲労をためないようなプランっていうのはチームとしても大事だとは思うので、そこを理解しつつ集中できれば1年間みんなが健康で頑張れるんじゃないかなと思ってます。
It makes sense just strategically having these off days right before our series in Denver. So I think that made sense as well. And it's really important for us as a team to be healthy throughout. So that made sense.
Last one, guys.
I know you said it made sense today, but if Doc decides that this is something that he wants to incorporate, would you be okay with that? How do you feel about that?
もし今後こういう感じに監督が取り入れるっていうのを何かオープンですかと。
そうですね。皆さんも見ましたけど、やっぱり素晴らしい DH がもう一人いるので、彼に任せたいなと思ってます。
Yeah, totally. I mean, we have a really good DH hit today, so I'm very open to that.
Thanks, Will. Clubhouse is open.
So there was Shohei Ohtani talking about his outing. Yeah, he did throw his best fastballs after he gave up that ground rule double to Melendez. By the way, I mean, Tucker had like a 61% catch probability. He probably should have taken a better angle on that. But that did end his scoreless inning streak. And he hadn't allowed an earned run in his last 32 2/3 innings in the regular season. After that, fastballs, the one to strike out Tommy Pham, 100. Then on the Lindor lineout, both those were 100. So he's got that club in his bag. He's got the nitrous oxide. He can hit that NOS button in Fast and Furious if he needs to. And I think that's what they're talking about. In baseball, the big buzz right now is velocity bands. How many velocity bands can you have from your fastball to your slider to your curveball? Because the different speeds are going to impact hitters. He's got different velocity bands with his fastball alone. That's what makes him so dynamic from that standpoint. But the interesting thing is Dave did say before the game, when he was asked about this possibility of moving him off the DH spot on days where he pitched, he said, yeah, I mean, I think that it's something that I'm going to keep an eye on. If it makes sense, but not just kind of do it proactively, I think it's something that the game, Shohei Ohtani, has got to make sense, and he's got to really be in your lineup. You're not going to keep your best hitter out of the lineup. That's what I was saying too. And he also said, quote, if I know that Dalton can throw out a couple hits and drive in 4 runs, hey, that's great, but Shohei likes to hit. He likes to hit, so I think it's more of just knowing that you have another option if it makes sense, but I'm not going to, like I said before, I'm not going to just proactively sit him if my eyes aren't telling me that he needs a blow. And then Ohtani, he did say that he was essentially open to the idea of not being the two-way player on days when he pitched. He said, yeah, totally. I mean, we had a really good DH hit today, so I'm very open to that. I actually had pretty productive times on being able to spend time on game planning side of things, so that felt pretty good. So there's Shohei Ohtani kind of saying, hey, I am somewhat open to this. It does feel like maybe this, because of this year, and what did I say at the beginning of the season? The dude has his eyes laser focused on a Cy Young. And I think that the pitch to Shohei is, hey man, like we know, like if he didn't pitch last year, I think he would have hit 60 home runs. Like he just would have, right? That's in his bag. That he has the ability to do that. But this year, you had that Cy Young to your mantle and a unanimous MVP. It's game over, man. You're the GOAT. Like it really is game over. It's to the point where you can put things out of reach, right? You can put things out of reach for any other player. So I do think that it's going to be something they're going to talk about. And I think the bigger question is how he's communicating the way he feels to the Dodgers. But it does feel like the great part of all this is the first time they did do it, we've got some proof of concept. And the thing that I don't like, so my first thing that I don't like on 3 Up, 3 Down is I don't like that Dalton Rushing doesn't have a runway. And I can't figure it out either. It is the Dalton Rushing conundrum where there's just nowhere for him to play full time. And the beauty of all of it is that he's had a lot of success in the short time that he's played this year. And I got a chance to talk to Dalton Rushing at his locker after the game. And look, I mean, you know, my whole thing about some of these scrums and things like that is they're really informative. But a lot of times it's like the player will just say, yeah, I made some adjustments. Yeah, I made some tweaks. But no one ever says, what are those adjustments? What were those tweaks? And it just like ends there. So I got a chance to ask him about what were those specific adjustments that he's made that have impacted his swing. And he told me, quote, it's kind of the setup. It's a little bit the load. I had an inconsistent load last year. My feet were in vulnerable positions to succeed against all pitch types. I attacked that this offseason. While my feet, if I can dig them into the ground at the right spot, I have a chance to do damage on every pitch. And that was my goal going into spring this year. And that goal is leading to success early on this season. So basically what he's saying is with that setup, with the lower body, it allows him to not have to guess against changeups and curveballs. And if you saw the double that he hit before the Hyeseong home run, those were 2 changeups in the same quadrant of the strike zone. And he was able to see one, get the information on a 2-strike count, and then put a really good convicted swing, not a defensive swing. We're talking about a swing that can do damage. And he also said this. I like he told me this. He goes, I almost feel like I have a little bit of swagger and a confidence thing. And he says that I was confident in different situations, but now I'm not worried about swinging through an 0-0 changeup or missing an 0-0 curveball. If that pitch is there, you're going to do damage on it. And I have confidence now, and it's night and day. So, I mean, he also talked about this. It's pretty interesting because he used the Traject machine, and the Traject machine is this like incredibly expensive machine where you can make it where it gives a pitcher's exact velocity and spin rate and movement profiles and takes swings off some specific pitchers. And one thing he does is he's able to game plan far in advance for certain pitchers. And he talks about the idea of manifesting, and he's looking to predict how pitchers are going to execute against him. Whereas last year, his strategy was, I'm just going to hope and pray something good happens. Now he's like, I'm going to predict this thing. By the way, I love to go against a Traject machine and have that Traject machine set on the Lance Lynn setting so I can hit a couple home runs. That'd be pretty awesome. Pretty sure I can hit a bomb off the Traject Lance Lynn preset there. If I ever see Lance Lynn in public, he's for sure punching me, by the way. But other cool thing too was I talked to Rushing about this pre-game conversation he had with Shohei Ohtani, where everything feels like this like Disney movie with Shohei, by the way. He's like, I'm not DHing, but Dalton, can you hit a home run for me? And what does Dalton Rushing do? He understands the assignment. Not only does he hit a home run, my man gets his first career grand slam, hits a grand salami in the 8th inning to make it a 7-1 game, just absolutely unloaded on a Devin Williams changeup. That air was not bending on that pitch. Here was Dalton Rushing talking about his exchange with Shohei Ohtani before the game. Dalton, you were batting DH tonight due to the injury to Shohei Ohtani. After you found out you were hitting DH, did he come up and talk to you? Did you say anything to him? What was that interaction like?
Yeah, he told me that about 20 minutes before first pitch, and he was like, "Hey, go hit a home run today." And I was like, "All right, Sho, I got you." And sure enough, it happened in the last about.
After you hit it, did you go up to him and tell him?
No, I didn't look for him. I didn't want to single out something that I did after watching what he did for 6 innings. I'm not here to take the spotlight from the best player on earth. I'm just here to help this team.
Awesome, man. Thanks, Dalton. Super chat. By the way, like I said, cut me off mid-sentence on the super chat. $2 from Mike Lopez. Who? Mike Lopez. That's Jones. Whoops. Would you send Freeland, JT3, and Henriquez, and Ryan for Eli? For Ellie. Okay. I'll answer that during the 7th inning stretch. This is a bonus minute show because it's an off day. So I'll get to that, but I like the question. And Ellie's gotten off to a pretty good start, by the way. And we know that he actually owns Los Angeles, according to him, because this is his city because he played Grand Theft Auto. Eric Carcos. Like, you couldn't be any closer to Eric Carros if you tried, Eric Carcos. Happy birthday. Quick shout out. It's your birthday. And for your birthday, I just want to tell you that the Dodgers are not going to lose on your birthday today. Isn't that awesome? The Dodgers will not be losing on your birthday. They're not going to win, but they're not going to lose because they're not playing. But happy birthday. Everyone wish Eric Carcos a happy birthday. So yeah, that's the piece on Dalton Rushing. Great to see him have that early success, hitting over 500, limited at bats, and the damage is there. But it's going to be a good problem to have for them if they have to have those at bats. And look, here's the thing: if Shohei pitched yesterday and he went 0 for 4, 0 for 5, I guarantee you when they think about this, and Dave already did say that he expects Shohei to bat the next time he pitches. But when they do entertain this idea at some point during the summer, it's going to be easier when the guys that you're going to have at that DH spot are going to be in there that you can trust. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing about the whole DH thing. The thing about the whole DH thing for Shohei is if he's going to pitch, right, but not DH, the Shohei Ohtani rule does not apply, where he can stay in the game after he exits. If he pitches, but you have another DH and you want his bat in the lineup, that means you have to put him in the outfield, then you lose your DH, right? So it doesn't make a ton of sense at all whatsoever if you're going to not have one of the best bats in the sport. So yeah, Dalton Crushing, doing your thing. All right, the next thing I like, maybe even love, and he wants a bracelet. I don't even know about this bracelet, but I was asked about a bracelet and a shirt, and he wants all the merch. I'm talking about Hyeseong Kim. Hyeseong Kim hit his first home run of the season. He also made a fantastic defensive play in the 8th inning at shortstop. And Kim understands what's at stake for him right now. He knows he has a unique opportunity where because of the injury to Mookie Betts, he's up earlier than he would have been, and he's taking advantage of it. The at-bats are better. He did strike out 3 times yesterday, which you definitely need to avoid. But he's fighting for a roster spot. As far as this is the ultimate, hey, I'm trying out for this job. And the better he does right now, the more he can get closer to locking up his roster spot. And on the pitch that he crushed, it was a 94-mile-per-hour sinker on the inner half. It's one that he can drive against a righty, and he did hit it over. The guy after him struck out, Alex Freeland. So there's a competition within the team. But I think that what he has is he sharpened all of his tools defensively. He can play big league shortstop. He can play second. He can play center. I asked him about playing big league shortstop, and he said that, hey, that was what I worked on when I went down in AAA. Well, guess what? He could not have worked on that if you started the year on the big league roster because Mookie Betts was playing everyday shortstop. So that's definitely a plus, and that's part of the process of why he did it. And I will say that there's just this extra like juice that he brings that doesn't show up on a Fangraphs page or Baseball Savant page. Like, he just kind of makes things happen. He's kind of got this like life of the party vibe where, I mean, you look at the reactions of Kike Hernandez doing, I don't even know what he was doing. There's some crazy stuff, crazy thrusting on the dugout walls there. And like, he just gets guys excited, man. And there's something about that for the comment. So let's hear from HSK, the Dodgers clubhouse.
What were you looking for on the home run swing? And
Sorry, man. 그 홈런 스윙 했을 때 혹시 뭐 이렇게 기다렸던 구종이나 아니면 어떤 자세를 맞췄는지 궁금합니다.
일단 제가 유리한 카운트였기 때문에 그냥 제가 스트라이크 존에 오는 거를 놓치지 말자라는 생각으로 임했던 것 같습니다.
Yeah, I was in hitter's count, so I just wanted to make sure if anything comes into the strike zone, I was ready to swing.
is a swing like that just like a good example for you, like the swing progress that you've made, kind of how that's all kind of clicking right now?
그래서 스윙에 지금 변화를 많이 가지고 계시는데 그런 오늘 스윙을 보여줌으로써 좀 뭔가 이렇게 결과가 나고 있다고 생각하십니까?
조금은 뭐 변화가 되고 있는 것 같고 그렇다고 뭐 막 크게 변화가 아직 생긴 것 같진 않고 계속 하고 있고 앞으로도 계속 변화를 주려고 하고 있습니다.
Yeah, I do believe that it's a little bit of progress for sure, but little by little at times. I don't think it's completely done yet, so I'll keep working hard and make those changes as the season goes on.
How good do you feel about just how well you played since coming back up?
그래서 콜업 되고 난 이후에 지금 좋은 모습 보여주고 계신데 지금 기분이 좀 어떠신지 궁금합니다.
기분은 좋죠. 이렇게 메이저 무대에서 뛰는 것은 너무 좋은 거기 때문에 여기서 뛰고 있는 순간은 너무 기쁘고요. 그래서 여기서 계속 뛰고 싶은 마음을 또 제가 행동과 실력으로 보여드려야 되기 때문에 그걸 잘 하려고 하고 있습니다.
Yeah, I'm happy for sure. Just being able to play at the major league level, it's obviously a lot of fun, and I also want to stay at the major league level. And by doing that, I'll try to show with my actions and how I go about my day, and I'll show it on the field.
What was it like just watching Ohtani pitch tonight, the way he performed?
쇼헤이 선수가 오늘 좋은 투구 내용 보여줬는데 그걸 보시면서 어떤 기분이 들었는지 궁금합니다.
워낙에 또 뛰어난 선수이기 때문에 쇼헤이 선수답게 멋진 피칭을 보여준 것 같습니다.
Yeah, he's obviously a great player, and just watching him pitch is a great experience and showed another example of why he's a great player.
I mean, that nice play at shortstop in the eighth. What's the biggest difference between playing shortstop now at the big league level compared to early on? Just how much more confidence you have playing that position?
그래서 오늘 8회 때 좋은 유격수 수비도 보여주셨는데 이제 유격수 수비하면서 지금 편한 느낌을 받고 계시는지, 그리고 전보다 지금 좀 더 유격수 포지션을 소화하는데 좀 더 편하신지도 궁금합니다.
일단 경기에 계속 나가고 자주 유격수에 나가면서 그냥 좀 더 잘하고 싶은 마음이 있고, 또 수비 코치님, 우드워드 코치님과 계속 연습하면서 소통을 하면서 많이 나아진 것 같아서 앞으로도 잘하고 싶습니다.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot more shortstop lately and communicating with our infield coach Chris Woodward. We actually communicate a lot and we work on different stuff, and as I get more playing time at short, I definitely feel more comfortable and hopefully keep playing good shortstop.
The coaching staff has been so complimentary of the way that you take instruction and want to learn. Just how do you think that served you getting to this point and being able to perform now that you're back up here?
그래서 코칭 스태프들과 인터뷰를 할 때 혜성 선수가 굉장히 이런 코칭을 받아들이는 자세나 코칭 스태프와의 이런 관계나 이런 것들이 지금 굉장히 좋다고 하시는데, 그런 부분들이 어떻게 지금 현재 선수에게 도움을 주었는지 좀 궁금합니다.
일단 제가 부족한 점이 많이 있기에 코치님들이 많이 알려주시고 계시는데, 그 점을 그냥 부족한 점을 알려주면 그냥 잘 따르고 있는 것밖에 없는 것 같고요. 워낙에 또 좋은 코칭 스태프님들이 다 계셔가지고 그냥 저는 잘 따르기만 하면 될 것 같습니다.
Yeah, I believe there are a lot of things that I could get better and I need to work on, and just by having the best coaching staff, all I really have to do is just follow their lead and just communicating with them and just taking their instructions and following their instruction is all I need to do.
You mentioned you wanted to do what you need to do to stay here, and obviously you hit your first home run today. So I guess I got to ask the cliche question: how did it feel hitting your home run, rounding the bases, and just knowing that you made a difference today?
그래서 저는 인터뷰 하셨을 때 이 메이저리그 레벨에 이제 콜업이 됐고 계속해서 이렇게 남아있고 싶다고 하셨는데 그래서 오늘 그렇게 홈런을 치고 베이스를 돌면서 좀 어떤 기분이 드셨는지 궁금합니다.
베이스 돌 때는 너무 좋았죠. 일단 선취 홈런이었고 베이스 돌 때는 너무 좋았지만 오늘 삼진을 3개 먹어서 많이 아쉬운 것 같습니다.
Yeah, I was obviously super happy running the bases, and because it was our first run, I felt like I was able to help in that sense. But also after that, I struck out 3 times, so I'm a little down on myself. But yeah.
All right, there we go. Hyeseong Kim. So we've got a super chat here, $4.99 from Adrian Gonzo. What's up, Agon? DMAC, when Mookie comes back, who gets sent down, Kim or Freeland? It's a really good question just because, I mean, you look at Freeland, he's hitting under 200. He's giving you pretty solid at-bats. He's playing really good defense at second base. And part of the thought process for Freeland over Kim was that you wanted to give Kim more time to implement those swing changes, more time at shortstop. But if Kim significantly outperforms Freeland offensively while Mookie's out, and Mookie still hasn't swung a bat yet, and I still will believe it when I see it that he's going to be back earlier than later. I mean, this could stretch into June. We'll see. But I think that if I had to my guess, like you still have Kike coming back at some point late May. Tommy Evans going to come back. The ultimate move is, I think, going to be you're going to DFA Santiago Espinal because Espinal does not have any options. He has been bad, but I mean, he has, let's be honest, he's been pretty bad. I mean, hit 154, struggled offensively. He's a negative WAR player. So that's probably going to be the move is you DFA Santiago Espinal and then you option Freeland. And I think you keep Kim up because, and this is, I think, the biggest kicker in all of this, is Miguel Rojas, you don't want to burn him to the ground at shortstop behind Mookie. And Kim's going to be playing more shortstop than Freeland. So I think the idea there is the early returns on Kim's defense have been really, really impressive at short. So knowing that Mookie is kind of banged up a little bit on the return, yeah, I think Kim gives you a little more insurance and versatility. Yes, you have Tommy Edman as a possibility if he comes back, and we'll see at what point that will be. But I think the move ultimately is going to be Freeland optioned unless you already want to pull the plug on Espinal and DFA him. So I think those are the 2 moves. And I think Kim, because of the pinch running ability, the defensive versatility, and the fact that the swing looks better, I think he stays up. But all right, next down is that fan who talked crap to Blake Snell. And Blake Snell had to talk to his own shoulder because Blake Snell had to point out to that fan that it's about the postseason and it's about getting back and being healthy. Well, the injury update on Blake Snell is that he ended up throwing 31 pitches yesterday in over 2 simulated innings. He faced Alex Call, Santiago Espinal, and Tommy Edman. Tommy Edman is facing hitters from both sides coming back from an ankle injury, and that Blake Snell is looking a lot better. I mean, we saw him yesterday just continue the process, dealing with that left shoulder fatigue, and he's going to have to do it a couple more times. You're going to see him throw to hitters at least 2 more times, and then he's going to go on a rehab assignment. So Blake Snell, he's going to be on his way back. He's a pitcher that got $182 million. I don't know why people are freaking out about Blake Snell. And the truth is, he made a decision a couple years ago that I wanted World Series titles and not Cy Youngs. If he wanted Cy Youngs, he'd be with another organization. But he has already won 2 Cy Youngs, and last season, he pitched over 34 innings for the Dodgers in the postseason. He was great. Everyone remembers Yamamoto, rightfully so, for being the World Series MVP. But Blake Snell, I mean, you could almost make the case that he was equally as important as Yamamoto. I mean, you really could. I mean, he had a 3.18 ERA in the postseason, 34 innings of work, 41 strikeouts to 13 walks. Those 41 strikeouts in the postseason were an all-time Dodgers record by a postseason starter. I mean, like he had his complete game. And yes, Yamamoto, I refuse to lose, right? Losing is not an option. He was great. You look at Yamamoto's postseason numbers last year. I mean, incredible. Nothing's going to touch that. I mean, that's a Sandy Koufax. That's an Oral Hershiser. I mean, a 1.45 ERA in 37 1/3 innings. What he did was incredible. No doubt about it. But I'm not so sure we get to the incredible from Yamamoto in the World Series unless we got from Blake Snell what we did in the first couple of rounds of that postseason. So let's lay off of Blake Snell. I love the shoulder bit, by the way. Maybe lay off the language, which it's all good with me, but I know, some of the parents aren't loving that, but who cares, man? Do your thing. Talk your stuff. I love Blake Snell. This is the only team I think that Snellzilla can truly be Snellzilla. I love it. Like he was doing a scrum in the Dodgers dugout, and someone walked by and he just cut off the question, goes, hello. Like, the dude's different. And I think it's perfect for this team. All right. That's our next down. You got to do it up, though. We got to do it up. And for our next up, we can talk about Andy Pages. We certainly can. We can talk about Teoscar Hernandez. We certainly can. But how about Tanner Scott? How about Tanner Scott? Did I not promise you a bounce back season? And I promised you he wasn't a secret double agent from the Padres. So far this season, Tanner Scott has been the Dodgers' best reliever. A 1.04 ERA and 8 2/3 innings of work. The strikeout numbers are a little down. But that's a good thing because he's getting quicker outs. You're seeing more ground ball outs. The whip has gone from 12.63 to 0.577. The ERA plus for Tanner Scott. Yes, small sample size. Yes, it's just 8 2/3 innings compared to the 57 he threw last year in the regular season. But the ERA plus 86 to 392. Yes, it's going to balance out. There's no doubt about it. But you're seeing Scott with the confidence, the conviction, and you're seeing him be that Terminator assassin type of mentality pitcher that we've seen. And also the most underrated walkout song too. His warm-up song, Mother by Danzig, it goes hard. So Tanner Scott, he's up. And then my last down for 3 Up, 3 Down is the whole Kyle Tucker and Michael Conforto thing. Like, I don't want to see this in the comments ever again. The whole Kyle Conforto thing. It's just not true. They're not the same player. You look at Kyle Tucker this season, and last night he gets a home run, his first at Dodger Stadium. A little bit of a stat padding, a little bomb there, but I'm for that. And then he had a game-winning hit earlier in the series that was 55 miles per hour off the bat. And just like that, he's an above-average bat at a 1-2 weighted runs created plus, and he has already accrued 0.4 FWAR. So we are into the season where the Dodgers have played 18 games, and he already has more WAR than Michael Conforto. Like, that's just so disrespectful to put them in the same category. It really is. Like, this is, this is bad. Like, I hate this. I think it's dumb. Like, I think it's more like an exposure of like your ball knowledge, to be honest. But I think with Kyle Tucker, what I tried to stress was that if you look at this season, why do we do this every year? Like, why do we do this every single year? One guy's struggling early on the season. What's wrong with him? He's washed. He's injured. He's got mechanical issues. No, he just plays baseball. When you play baseball, you have high ups and you have low downs. And the truth is, it's just such a relatively small sample size in the grand scheme of things. The truth is, is we are in the first inning of Kyle Tucker's season. If you're watching a Dodgers game and the team struggles in the first inning, don't you kind of think to yourself, like, yeah, even if it's a bad first inning, we got 8 more innings to go, right? We still got time to score some runs. A lot of outs to work with, right? Well, Kyle Tucker has a lot of outs to work with, and he has a proven track record of being an all-star hitter. And I have zero doubts that he is going to still be one of the better hitters. I think I will say that Andy Pajes has started to get me to question whether or not Kyle Tucker ends up as the second best hitter on the Dodgers, but Tucker is going to be just fine. I think that we got a glimpse into what makes him special as a hitter when he did have that go-ahead game winning, essentially, as it was hit the other night, which was he is a very talented left-handed hitter that can have success against other left-handed pitchers. And it was the bottom of the 8th inning, going up against Rayleigh. It's an 0-2 count at one point. Then on the 4th pitch, he takes a cutter on the inner half and is able to poke that thing into left field. Like, that was a very advanced level hitting. And let's LTG, right? Let's tuck and go. Like he needs some love from the fan base. I need to see more time from Kyle Tucker. I need to see more love for King Tuck. But that's my 3 up, 3 down. And guys, it was a longer show, but we got to do things the right way and hear from you guys in the 7th inning stretch.
The 7th inning stretch.
All right, here we go. We're looking for the comment of the show. This is an early contender. I like this from Ray. So no more Conforto, DMAC? Yes, no more Conforto. Like, let's stop doing that. We've got Ruben. Ohtani is so talented. He can pitch, he can lead off, and host an episode of Dodgers Dugout Live. Oh, absolutely. Now, no doubt about that. He could do that. He lives nearby. He can stop by the studio, right? Claudia. The question should be, how long can Shohei keep doing this at this rate? It's about sustainability. Yeah, I mean, look, I asked Shohei this at the All-Star game last year. Hey, how much longer do you think you can pitch and hit? He said he wants to do it for the last 8 years of his career. So that's his mindset, and they're going to give him every chance to be able to do that. We got Clayton Tennis Amoto. DMAC, I hope the Dodgers learn the lesson of not having Shohei bat when he's pitching and allow Rushing to get more at-bats, especially against right-handed pitching. Rationing his energy is vital. Yeah, I like that pull right there. I mean, you get Rushing against a righty, and most pitchers in Major League Baseball are righties. And I think that part of Rushing taking advantage of his opportunities, and that's kind of the theme with all these players, save for Andy Pajes, is the young players, look, even though it's unfair, you got to take advantage when you're in there because that's how you open their eyes, and that's how you earn more at-bats and more starts. We got Krista Helicopter. DMAX, serious question. Do the fans whip out their phones to watch Shohei pitch or watch Shohei hit? I mean, this is an easy answer here. It's to hit because an at-bat can last like 2 or 3 seconds. Like, I mean, I was taking my dogs out, Kobe and Bunny, for a walk, and I got them at the door. Kobe clearly needs to use the bathroom. Bunny needs to go. And Shohei, I hear the song. I hear the Buble song, and I got to stop. I got to watch the at-bat. I can't leave. Sure, Kobe peed on my leg, but still, I watched Shohei ground out, and it was worth it because he might have hit a home run. When it comes to pitching, if there's a certain situation where he's going for his 10th strikeout, he's going for a no-hitter, I mean, like, you're going to bring the phones out. But, I mean, my favorite bump day is Yamamoto and bump day because you use so many different pitches, but look, I mean, it's crazy to see him out there doing what he does. It doesn't make any sense. Patrick Horton, even though Tucker is not swinging the bat yet, he has a 2 game-winning hits this year. Yeah, he really does. I mean, that's a really good point, honestly. Early in the season against the Diamondbacks, had that go-ahead double to score Ohtani. How many game-winning hits did Conforto get last year? Yeah, I mean, like we just can't put those guys in the same sentence, man. I mean, it's like Dylan Brooks and LeBron's sentences. I mean, like it's just, they're 2 very different levels of players. Like, one's an all-star, and Conforto did have that one all-star season, but he hasn't been that in a long time. Mr. Classic, Cy Young is harder than MVP, in my opinion. That's a really good question. I mean, some of these are so good, I just can't not answer them. But one, I think, is very health-related in Cy Young. But MVP, The year that Kersh won, Stan got injured late that season, which impacted it. The truth is, though, if you're a pitcher, the odds of you having a really good pitching season in your prime, it's a smaller window than when you can win MVP. But then again, Verlander won MVP at a very late stage of his career. Delirium says Dalton is Charlie Brown and Will Smith is Schroeder. Peanuts getting reference. David SFV, god dang, this dude knows brawl. Ricky Polanco, I like this guy.
I'm talking about Nelson.
I'm talking about Nelson. JR 15. They're trying to get as many as we can get in here. We've got, show Nelly some love for sure. It's kind of extending the show for sure, but it's all good. This is the Lord of the Rings episode, trilogy episode of Dodgers Dugout Live. DMAC breaking down the financial mathematics. All right, guys. Last one here. Ruben, the Mets are like the Los Angeles Clippers of MLB. Money can't buy championship banners. Totally disagree with you 100%. The Mets are not the Clippers. The Padres are the Clippers because they have as many World Series rings as I have. That's 0. The Mets, you have the Miracle Mets from the late 60s. You also had a phenomenon Mets in 1986 when they won with Dwight Gooden in that group. So disagree. The Mets have more history, that's for sure. I would say for the Mets, NBA-wise, I mean, can honestly probably say, the Mets have less history than the Warriors have, but you talk about a major market-ish team. Houston has 2 titles for sure. I think Houston's not a bad pull. I like that. They won back-to-back titles in 94, 90. I think
New Jersey Nets or Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, I would say more history than those 2 teams. I think honestly the Thunder are an interesting one just because they're an expansion team. And the Mets are such a big market team. They really do have a lot of success. I'm going to go with I like the Rockets one though. The Rockets one's really solid because they've had that success in a small amount of time. But all right, guys, we are running out of time, so let's get to the walk off.
The walk off.
All right, so for today for the walk off. You're probably wondering, where is that incredible documentary about the World Series like we saw with Apple last season against the Yankees? Well, Bill Shagan of the LA Times is reporting that, quote, Major League Baseball did commission a documentary, as it always does, but the film was not ready for release by the time spring training started. The series was so dramatic that the league is looking into options for a high-profile rollout probably around mid-season. So that's what I needed to hear because they really have a great opportunity here to drop this. My idea, All-Star Week. That's when you drop this thing. All-Star Week, have a little red carpet. You're not watching a baseball game. It's like the dead period of sports in the summer. That is when they should drop this. So, hey, you're going to get the epic movie, just like we got for the Apple TV one. That one was amazing. I think this one's going to be even better. And I cannot wait to see it. But that's going to do it for this episode of Dodgers Dugout Live. My name is Doug McKain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. Do me a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button. Drop a like. Drop a comment. I dropped a breakdown of last night's game earlier today. So if you want to check that out, there's a really cool moment between Lindor and Shohei. And go check those out after every game as well. See you guys tomorrow. And remember that nothing brings together quite like Dodger baseball. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.